someone to come and get him.
The Kelly family believes that Christy is the person who gave Mahfouz a ride home. In addition, they question her statement about what happened when she returned to Todd's house at 7 in the morning. She claims she did not immediately notice Todd's body, even though it was lying right by the front door, a point which even Sheriff McClellan concedes is unlikely.
We're not accusing Christy. The only problem is we feel that there's some inconsistencies in the things that she has told us. We've asked Christy for a polygraph examination, and she has refused to do that.
All we want from her is the truth and the whole truth, and we do not believe we're getting that from her. We do feel that possibly she could help the case out by stepping forward and telling the whole story the way it should be told.
Todd's family, they've been very hard on me from the beginning. They harassed me, accused me, unjustly accused me of everything. They wouldn't even let me go to his funeral. They've just been very accusing, and I realize they're hurting, and I don't think that they realize that I'm hurting too. And that everything that they say, and every time they accuse me of something, it just hurts more. I don't know why they're doing what they're doing.
Next, the incredible tale of a primitive sea creature, America's own Loch Ness Monster, said to live in the depths of Lake Champlain. Centuries ago, along the shores of what is now Lake Champlain in upstate New York and Vermont, the Iroquois paid homage to the spirit of a great horned serpent said to rule the murky depths of the lake. The fabled sea monster which captivated the Iroquois still fascinates people today. In fact, in the past 25 years, no less than 100 eyewitnesses claim to have seen the Lake Champlain sea monster, known affectionately as Champ. Sandra Mancy, a successful antiques dealer, grew up near Lake Champlain. When she was a child, her grandfather teased her with fearsome tales of the legendary creature.
Grandfather told us all about Champ, and when we would go fishing, he would say to us, if you don't sit down and behave in the boat, I'm going to throw you over and Champ's going to eat you. Of course, we didn't believe a word of it. It wasn't anything that we really believed in. It was just a threat of grandfather's. And so I just really kind of dismissed it for years and years as just one of grandfather's big stories.
In July of 1977, Sandra took this remarkable photograph, which fueled worldwide speculation and, not surprisingly, controversy. Sandra will never forget the day she saw Champ. That summer, Sandra, her 2 children, and her fiancé Tony were on vacation near Lake Champlain.
We stopped at this one place and went down over a bank, and the children were down further on the beach, having a great time. And Tony decided to go back to the car and get the camera because we hadn't taken any pictures of the children, and they had their shoes off and they're waiting down on the shore.
Yeah? Hang
And
on.
I'm
apologise. I've just got the surprise of my life. Wow. Hiya, Patrick. I just had the surprise of me life. In a good way, that is. In a good way. More like in a OMG way. Sit. Well, I'm getting somewhere.
Sitting there by myself, and I'm looking out at the lake, and the lake started churning.
How is
First
my dear
thought
Patrick
was
doing?
scuba divers, but then it's too much. It would be too big of a group of scuba divers. But then fish. There's some very large sturgeon and big walleyes in Champlain, so I thought, well, it's a very, very large school of fish. Then the head and the neck came up out of the water, and then the back. And I watched it turn its head and neck and look around, and when it first came up, its mouth was open, and I could see water coming out of the mouth. But I don't remember any eyes or any details like that. Just the head and the neck and the back. And it's really, really serene. And I'm feeling like I shouldn't be there. This is something I should not be witnessing. Because to me, this thing should have been extinct 30 years
No.
ago. And even then, I'm not frightened. I'm in total awe and very calm. And then Tony came back,
No. It's the
and he
computer
saw
that
it.
he's working on for my birthday.
And he got all panicky, screaming and hollering. And he screamed at me to get back there. So he helped me up the bank, and when he did, he handed me the camera, and I turned around, and it's still there. I picked up the camera and shook one shot.
When Sandra had the film developed, she was certain she had taken a picture of Champ. She was equally certain that no one would believe that the photo was real. She threw away the negatives, and fearing public ridicule, kept the picture hidden for the next 2 years.
I hope you don't think I'm crazy with all this stuff I've been telling you about.
Finally, in the autumn of 1979, Sandra had the snapshot blown up into an 8
Yeah,
by
I'm
10 inch
okay.
print. At the urging of friends, she contacted Joe Zarzinski, who spent more than a decade researching a book on the Lake Champlain sea creature.
Yeah, well, here. Here's a photograph.
This is a great picture. When I opened it up, I thought it was too good to be true. After putting in so many years of researching, field work, and then finally there was this color photograph that clearly depicted a head and neck sticking out of the water. And it was almost as if all my Christmases came to me at once.
Can you point out on the map where you think the sighting was?
Well, yeah. I know it was at the north end of the lake.
Unfortunately, Sandra was unable to pinpoint the exact part of the lake where she had taken the photograph. Joe sent the print to the University of Arizona to be analyzed.
We
Yeah.
digitized it and ran all sorts of computer enhancement techniques. We were looking like for
Just been in that.
pulleys or ropes or anything like that, superimpositions. But
A lot
we
of
found
pain
no
today, but
evidence of hoaxing, and we concluded
there's
that
nothing
that
new.
object, whatever it is, was there in the lake at that estimated distance. It wasn't any sort of superimposition.
When the photograph was released, it caused a media sensation. The New York Times and Life magazine carried the story. Many were reminded of another, far more well-known creature, the legendary Loch Ness Monster of Scotland. Some speculated that if such creatures did exist, perhaps they were prehistoric animals which had somehow managed to survive.
Well, the object in the Mansi photograph resembled a plesiosaur, which is an aquatic reptile from the Cretaceous about 60, 70 million years ago, long neck and flippers. It resembles that, but that's a long time to have survived.
Another theory maintains that Champ might be a zeuglodon, a snake-like whale extinct for 20 million years. Or perhaps Champ was simply a lake sturgeon, which had been known to reach 7 feet in length. No matter the explanation, the fact remains that following the publication of the Mansi photograph, dozens of eyewitness sightings were reported. Near dusk on July 7, 1988, Walter Tappan, his wife Sandy, and daughter Heidi went out on Lake Champlain with a camcorder. The previous day, Walter and Heidi believed they had seen Champ. The Tappans were probably 10 to 12 miles from the area where Sandra Mansi had taken her photograph 11 years earlier.
It was a quiet night, just as still as glass, like the first night had been. And I was full of anticipation and excitement, but also not necessarily expecting anything. And for about 10 minutes, we saw nothing. And then Sandy, curiously enough, Sandy says,
I think I see one. Get the camera, honey, get the camera.
I was manning the camera all the time. And when you look through the viewfinder, you can't see much. And so we had quite a time there where my daughter and my wife were saying, there, look. And I'd say, where? I can't see anything.
Walter and his family believe that they saw not just one creature, but several. What he photographed is visible in the center portion of the screen.
We saw frequently a series of small humps coming up, breaking the surface, gliding along, and then subsiding again. But we watched these creatures for 45 minutes. And at one particular moment, they spotted, Heidi and I think spotted one not far from the boat, at the most 50 or 60 feet from the boat. And then began the footage for about 20 or 30 seconds of seeing these humps glide along, first 2, then 3, then 4, and then suddenly 5, all in a row, stretching out about 20 feet.
At one time I saw, I would say 5 in the community, but throughout the night I went on for about an hour. I had probably, I would say, 7 different sightings of them.
Oh my gosh, Heidi, do you see another one?
And then I became very worried about it because my husband had seen it the night before, and now we see it again. I thought maybe this is some sort of nesting site, but I didn't know what it was, and I kept trying to make sense out of it.
It's bigger. It's even bigger. There are more humps.
So we have a sun deck on the back. So I decided to climb up and stand on the sun deck, and I just scanned the water like that, back and forth, scanning. And lo and behold, I saw one of those Brahma bull humps coming along the water, and then all of a sudden, the neck and the head came up, and it looked right at me. I will never forget it. And so, as I said, it just happened like that. All of a sudden, there's this lead hump, like the Brahma bull hump. All of a sudden, just like this, just so gracefully, just like that, looked out, looked at me, and I was screaming with excitement, which I wish I wasn't doing because it went down real rapidly, came back, and then very gracefully, very slowly, went back down into the water just like that. And this was the movement, just up and down.
There was no time for me to get the camera and refocus. I'd give anything now to have that on footage because what Sandy saw was, of course, an astounding thing. This creature looking at us and lifting its head out of the water. And what it did was to confirm absolutely for all of us that what we had seen was Champ.
Scientific opinion is varied, but at least one expert believes that what Walter Tappan photographed was nothing more than a school of fish. Perhaps he is right, but who can explain the Mansi photograph or the hundreds of eyewitness accounts recorded through the centuries?
Do I believe Champ exists? You'll never convince me of anything else. You can call it Champ, you can call it a monster, you can call it a Zeuglodon, you can call it a plesiosaur, you can call it anything you want. I'm telling you, in that lake, there is something extraordinary.
I think there's a good chance that there's something in Lake Champlain that still remains unknown to zoology. Something large, something unknown. And for that reason, if for no other, we should continue trying to find out what it is.
When we return, the story of a young man who claims that he has lost almost all memory of his past. Imagine waking up one day with no sense of who you are, where you are, or where you came from. That is exactly what happened to a mysterious young man named Pierre, who seems to be suffering from near-total amnesia. His odyssey began when he awoke in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by the fog and mist of a forgotten past.
Those first few minutes, you're literally nothing, and you feel so empty. It's very lonely and painful to be empty. I'm sorry if the voice shakes and I stutter more than usual, but it's not nice to talk about these things.
It was a chilly, windswept morning in May of 1992. Pierre says he inexplicably found himself along a deserted stretch of coastline with a blue duffel bag beside him. Feeling weak, hungry, and terribly confused, Pierre recalls that he made his way to the road, Highway 1, leading south from Big Sur, California.
So I started walking, and as I came upon, well, you could call it a village if you're polite, but it's a very small place. It's called Gigorda. I saw the sign.
Pierre spotted a telephone, his first chance to obtain help. Only then did it dawn on him that he had no one to call.
Then I realized I couldn't phone anybody. And that's when I realized that I didn't know anybody, including me.
Alone and distraught, Pierre searched through his belongings. Tucked into one of his shirts was a crumpled piece of paper, a library card from the Boston Public Library. Handwritten on the back of the card was a name, April, Pierre. Pierre says now that it was not his signature.
Well, it's struck me that, hey, that's the name of whoever owns that card, and that must be me. It's in my belongings. It's with my socks. It's with my shirts. It's with my things.
Pierre claims he was plagued by hazy memories of San Diego, California, 400 miles to the south. With just $17 in his pocket, he set out hitchhiking. 3 days later, Pierre arrived in San Diego. He wandered through the streets of the city, searching for a recognizable landmark.
I was not so much frightened anymore as angry, because I was so sure everything would come back. But I saw downtown and said nothing. I looked at the building and they meant nothing. I was so sure this city would bring everything back, and it did not. And I walked the streets of the city for a long time.
Pierre felt he was hovering on the brink of madness. Finally, a sympathetic bus driver gave him a free ride to the St. Vincent de Paul homeless shelter.
We've had cases of people pretending they didn't know who they were. But Pierre was very unique in that sometimes in the other cases, the residents are after something. They want to kind of use staff to get some needs met of theirs. And that wasn't Pierre's case at all. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't even ask for help.
Hold your breath.
In the past 6 months, Pierre has undergone a battery of physical and psychological examinations. Doctors theorize he may be suffering from trauma-induced amnesia.
The doctor here at the facility did screen Pierre and found no obvious physical causes or reasons for the amnesia. And he did say that the case was very unique from his perspective in that it's very rare to have somebody lose their long-term memory for as long as Pierre has.
While at St. Vincent's, Pierre began the painstaking search for clues to his past. Soon, fragments of his former self began to emerge. Pierre apparently has considerable knowledge of physics, advanced math, and computers, and even claims he knows how to fly an airplane. Pierre also discovered that he possesses some artistic ability, but other clues only serve to deepen the mystery. In the blue duffel bag was a neck brace. Pierre believes that he may have been injured while playing hockey. He also claims that he can type 85 words a minute. Pierre also found that he has a talent for music and learned how to play the guitar in just a few hours. Now, every morning, Pierre travels to Balboa Park in San Diego, where he earns spending money as a street entertainer.
Well, it gives me an identity, for one thing. I'm a musician. Now I'm something. I don't feel empty now because I keep myself very, very busy.
Hoping to add detail to Pierre's fragmented memories, Unsolved Mysteries arranged for him to consult with a police sketch artist. In the session, 2 portraits were created. Portraits of people who may have been significant in Pierre's past. The first was a man who Pierre believes is his cousin Luke, nicknamed Curly. According to Pierre, Luke is an auto mechanic who once fixed the tour bus of a well-known group of Louisiana musicians, the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. The second drawing was a woman who Pierre believes was once his employer. Her name is Carol. Pierre recalls that they worked together in a business office. But for every memory which returns, Pierre says there are literally thousands which remain buried and forgotten.
I just want to find out what the past is, if I can. If I try to remember something too hard, I get a beautiful headache that I wouldn't want to inflict on my worst enemy. And most recently, like those last few days, if I try not to remember something that's coming back, I get the same thing. Like some lumps of things come back
You know, when you tried installing
that are not
Windows
especially
back Windows
pleasant.
10 disc, could you get it working? You have to get your own copy, didn't you?
Yeah.
You know why?
And
Because
if
it's
I
not
try
a
to block them
bootable
out,
disc.
Oh.
I
It's a
get the same
key
kind of
to
headache.
make a
It's
key.
hazy,
You have to make it yourself.
piercing pain
Oh.
that engulfs the whole
Using
head.
Rufus.
It's not something nice.
Hiya, Mark.
It's
But it works.
something I can do.
You like your computer?
I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it.
Hello.
Update.
Hello.
On the night of our
How are you doing well?
a viewer in Canada called our telecenter to
loving
say that
it.
the young man had once worked for
Yeah,
his wife,
I had
and
the
that his
fans
name
plugged
is, in
into
fact,
the
Pierre
motherboard.
April.
That's why they were running so slow.
Ah.
Pierre
I
soon
unplugged
learned
the
that he has
cable.
2 sisters and that his parents live
Yeah,
in Machine,
and
Canada,
it's spinning
where his
now.
father practices medicine. The next day,
Yeah, so I've got to make a USB flash drive. Luckily, I bought that
It was a
32
very
gig one.
emotional moment. And then I
So-
even had to tell him that I couldn't even trust him 100%. That I
Oh,
wanted
you
to
well,
package
Walt.
with family pictures in it.
Oh
and
dear.
my birth certificate in it, and anything else he could
Right,
think
so
of.
I've got to make
He
a
said,
window
okay, we'll
key
send
now.
that to you. And then he said, do you remember your mom? And I said, no. And she was listening on the extension. And she burst into tears.
A few days later, the packet arrived. Pierre sat down with his fiancée, whom he met in San Diego, and a friend, to get reacquainted with his past.
It is strange to be told who you are and what you did. I'm someone again. And for quite a few months, I was nobody and nothing.
Next, the heartwarming reunion of a woman and her family. On a previous broadcast, we profiled the case of a woman named Lorene Roberts, who mysteriously vanished in 1962 and had no idea that she was one of the heirs to $1 million estate. In a happy turn of events, Lorene herself was watching television on the night of our broadcast and saw her own story on Unsolved Mysteries.
I'll be with you in just a minute, okay?
In 1951, Lorene Roberts was 16 years old and working as a waitress in Austin, Texas, when she fell in love.
Coffee, pie, and how about I take you for a whirl?
Lorene and the young serviceman were married just 10 days after they met. By 1956, the couple had 2 sons and a daughter, but the marriage was on the rocks. When her husband filed for divorce, Lorene was left to raise the children on her own.
Will you be in charge for a moment? Will you do that for me? All right, I gotta go now. I gotta go. Will you watch after them for me, okay?
Lorene tried. She worked and she tried to handle, her situations. And she loved her children very much. But that was just something she couldn't handle, and she seen she couldn't handle it. And she tried to get help from her husband, but no help.
Finally, Lorene felt she had no choice but to give her children up for adoption. The decision left Lorene shattered, and her emotional state grew increasingly fragile. Finally, in 1957, the stress became too great, and Lorene was admitted to a state mental facility.
Okay, now. Okay, you too.
2 years later, while on furlough from the facility, Lorene paid a short visit to her sister Ruby. No one in the family ever heard from her again. In 1988, Lorene became one of the heirs to $1 million estate after the death of her mother. An extensive search was launched, but there was no sign of Lorene Roberts. When we aired the story, we never imagined that Lorene would call our telecenter and solve her own mystery. Lorene's family was overjoyed to learn that she was alive and well. Her sister Ruby immediately flew to Little Rock, Arkansas, where Lorene had been working as a housekeeper for just room and board. A few days later, Ruby brought Lorene back home to Austin, Texas, for a poignant reunion with the rest of her family.
It was unbelievable. I could hardly believe it because I guess for so long we had searched and searched for her and we couldn't find a lead.
I was so enthused, I cried, I laughed, I did everything.
Yes, it's nice to be back. They're real nice. They've always been. They're original people that are very darling people.
After we filmed this reunion, Lorene remained in Austin for 3 months. She received her $105,000 inheritance and has since returned to her home in Arkansas.
This is the wonderful person we looked for 30 years.
We're going to try to be happy and just do all the things we can to be together and love each other and and include her children and her grandchildren, and which I think will be real good for Lorene and all of us.
From time to time, the authorities contact us with fast-breaking cases, hoping that an urgent appeal to our viewers may help solve them. Our first special alert tonight is a tragic story of a woman who was kidnapped and later murdered by her husband.
Hiya, Demi.
Joseph and Lois Krantz of Kalamazoo, Michigan, had been married for 14 years, none of them easy. Joseph had been in and out of prison since the mid-1970s for offenses ranging from burglary to fraud to forgery. On July 31st, 1992, he was released from jail after serving 2.5 months for embezzlement and parole violation. At the time, his wife Lois was pregnant with the couple's third child, but she had recently contacted legal aid about seeking a divorce. On August 5th, less than a week after his release, Joseph Krantz showed up at Lois's apartment, brandishing a gun. A friend, Janice McCrae, was with Lois that morning.
She went into the bedrooms to get some stuff. We went into the living room. Me and the kids. While we were sitting there, Lois come running out of the bedroom yelling, oh no, just screaming.
Krantz forced his wife into a car and sped away. That night, he called his mother and told her that he had killed Lois and dumped her body near a lake about 30 miles from Kalamazoo. 3 days later, Lois Krantz's body was found in the general area her husband had described. She had been shot once in the head. On August 12, 1992, Lois Krantz was laid to rest. Her 2 daughters are now with relatives in a place where they will be safe from their father. Joseph Krantz has not been seen since he kidnapped his wife, and authorities believe he may now be in Florida. In our second special alert case, another family has been shattered by a kidnapping. The victim is a 65-year-old woman who suffers from severe asthma and must have daily medication. Martha Doe Roberts and her husband Alan lived in Eads, Tennessee, 25 miles from Memphis. Alan last saw his wife when he left for work at 9:30 a.m. on August 7, 1992. When he returned later in the afternoon, his wife was gone. That night, Alan Roberts received a ransom call. A muffled male voice demanded $100,000 or threatened he would split open Martha's head. The kidnapper has made no further contact.
If Doe is released unharmed, I will meet any demand. I will do whatever is necessary to obtain her release.
Maybe did it.
Next week on Unsolved Mysteries, Senator Huey Long of Louisiana. In his day, the most fascinating character in American politics. But in 1935, Long died in a flurry of gunfire in his own state capital. History records that his assassin, Dr. Carl Weiss, was killed almost instantly by the senator's bodyguards. Today there is mounting evidence that Dr. Weiss may have been innocent and that the truth may have been shrouded by a cover-up. Join me next time. Perhaps you may be able to help solve a mystery.
No. Mine hasn't. But it's reset my... It's resetting my bloody thingy again. You know the time that you are on live. Stupid thing. We had a series of yesterday. We had a series of power cuts, so a couple of times. No, he is not, Patrick. Don't give him bloody ideas, little bugger.
This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you are about to see is not a news broadcast.
September 1989, Seattle, Washington. One of the largest fires in the city's history erupts at a lumber warehouse. Authorities soon attribute the blaze to an elusive master arsonist whose reign of destruction resulted in millions of dollars in damage and left at least 2 firefighters dead. 6 decades ago, Senator Huey Long of Louisiana was one of the most powerful politicians in America, a man many believed was destined to be president. But in 1935, Long was felled by an assassin's bullet. Now some researchers believe that the man thought to be Long's killer was in fact innocent, and that this may have been the first political assassination in America where the truth was concealed by a terror. In 1947, a 2-year-old girl was found badly beaten and abandoned in a field in Weed, California. Today, that little girl is a successful businesswoman who is still searching for her long-lost brother, whom she met only once, 45 years ago. Join me for these fascinating stories. Perhaps you may be able to help solve a mystery. September 9th, 1989, Seattle, Washington. Just after 10 p.m., 20 engine companies responded to a 4-alarm blaze at the vacant Blackstock lumber warehouse. When the first company arrived, the blaze appeared to be controllable, isolated in one wing of the building. In a matter of minutes, however, it would become one of the largest fires in Seattle history. Matt Johnson and Bill Meredith were 2 of the first firefighters to get inside.
We decided to explore what appeared to be a second-story mezzanine type of area. While I was up there, there was a tremendous release of heat from somewhere.
The roof had exploded into a 5,000-degree wall of flame.
I'm out of air.
2 stories below the inferno, Meredith and Johnson were overwhelmed by a burst of radiant heat so strong they were in danger of being baked alive.
Go on, Bill, give me some grab.
The lack of oxygen and tremendous heat left Matt Johnson unable to move. Bill Meredith went for help and became disoriented himself.
I've been hot before, but I never experienced that. I've had my ears blistered, but this was something else. It was like being x-rayed with heat. It was absolutely stunning.
Bill Meredith somehow survived, despite the fact that his body temperature had climbed to a point which normally means certain death. The next day, his partner, Matt Johnson, would be found dead in the rubble. He was 32 years old, married, and the father of a 15-month-old son. At first, police suspected that the fire had been started accidentally by a vagrant trying to keep warm. But the burned-out warehouse had a different look to one veteran investigator with the Seattle Fire Department. The Dennis Fowler that carried the distinctive signature of an elusive criminal he'd been tracking for years. A criminal who may be the world's most sophisticated and deadly arsonist.
On a scale of 1 to 10, he's a 10 as far as his skills and his abilities go to bring a building down. You can't put them out. And the reason you can't is because they generate so much heat and energy that a hose of water simply cannot overcome it.
Fowler first encountered the work of the arsonist in 1984, when Seattle's 40,000 square foot carpet exchange warehouse burned to the ground in an astounding 19 minutes flat. The heat was so intense that it literally boiled concrete and vaporized steel beams.
The firefighters themselves said that it was hotter than they had ever experienced before. And these guys were in state-of-the-art firefighting protective clothing, and they're still outside, and they've got hose lines, and they can't get near the fire.
After the Blackstock lumber fire, the Seattle Fire Department took the unusual step of investigating on a national scale. They analyzed dozens of fires across the United States and Canada and found at least 20 which bore the hallmark of a person some call the king of arsonists. The Seattle Fire Department now believed they were dealing with the most sophisticated arsonist in the history of the United States. For firefighters, it was their worst nightmare come true. The blazes set by this arsonist defied logic, burning hotter and faster because of the oxygen in the water from the fire hoses. In essence, these arson fires were death traps. One factor above all others made the arsonist extremely difficult to track. He used a fuel of unknown origin, an accelerant which left behind absolutely no residue. Burned thousands of square feet in as little a time as 3 minutes, and generated temperatures which topped out between 5,000 and 7,000 degrees, 3 times hotter than a normal fire.
Here you can see some silicates which are boiled up out of the concrete from the high temperatures that we have at the thermite. As the data developed, it began to narrow the field as to what type of accelerant it might be and actually what could be happening inside these structures. And it was something that had never been tested before. And so we went through a series of tests involving various types of exothermic fuels, high temperature fuels that had never been burned in building tests.
On March 25th, 1990, after a year of intensive research, the Seattle Fire Department set a test fire at an empty shopping center in Puyallup, a Seattle suburb. The entire complex was destroyed in minutes.
The Puyallup test fire allowed us to narrow the field of potential accelerants down tremendously. Although it did not exactly duplicate what the arsonist is able to do, it reproduced close enough for us to know that this was the type of fuel that the arsonist is using, and this is what we were looking for.
The fuel, which the Seattle Fire Department has kept top secret, was an oddball mixture of several common ingredients, all readily available. But only someone with highly specialized knowledge would know how to put those ingredients together.
He knows the fuel and how much he needs to use to take the building down.
Overall square footage?
He may not be an engineer, but he certainly knows a lot about building construction. This person probably has no contact at all with the people who are going to burn the building, or who actually are going to, have the building burned. Once the fuel is delivered, anybody can light it.
The only one of the arsonist fires to generate eyewitnesses was one of the largest, the Blackstock lumber fire in Seattle.
I read about the Blackstock lumber fire in the paper, and I realized that I had been in the vicinity of the fire approximately 15 to 20 minutes before the alarm was called in. I was driving along the road Blackstock lumberyard is located on. I noticed a vehicle, probably a 1970s vintage, early 80s Mercedes, coming out of a parking lot, and it just seemed out of place at the time and out of character for the neighborhood. It's that area is an industrial area, and at that time of night everything is closed down.
Another eyewitness said she saw a suspicious-looking man after the Blackstock fire was already in progress.
He paid absolutely no attention to this fire, basically just going about his business, and she found that to be unbelievable. It would appear that the fellow was possibly somebody who had actually ignited the fire, waited for a crowd to gather so they could blend in and make a casual exit from the area.
Under hypnosis, the eyewitnesses described two very different men. Neither one is considered a suspect, but authorities would like to question them both. The man driving the Mercedes was between 35 and 45 years old, with blonde, possibly graying hair, and fair skin. He had a mustache and beard, and a receding hairline. The man seen leaving the fire was well-dressed, 6 feet tall, in his early or mid-30s. He had an athletic build, a dark complexion, and well-groomed dark hair.
There hasn't been a single one of these fires where we haven't had a large number of firefighters who have suffered anything from minor injuries to extensive injuries, very serious injuries. And in one of the Seattle fires, we had a firefighter who died. That's a murder, and that's why it's important to me.
To date, the arson fires have claimed the lives of at least 2 firefighters. While the search continues for the arsonist, authorities are analyzing insurance files for suspicious fires across the nation.
I've got to download it myself. Just doing it now. We've got to make the key.
When we return, nearly 60 years after the death of Senator Huey Long, his murder remains a subject of controversy.
Get in there.
President John F. Kennedy. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Senator Robert Kennedy. Political assassinations have changed the course of recent history. However, an entire generation may not be aware that 3 decades earlier, another assassination rocked this country to its foundations. The man who was killed was named Huey Pierce Long, senator from the state of Louisiana, and a man who might very well have become president. To many, he was a spirited visionary, but to others, Huey Long was a dangerous radical.
We'll not destroy the profit system. We'll not destroy the capitalistic system. We won't destroy the Constitution of the United States. We won't destroy the Declaration of Independence. On the contrary, we'll make the Declaration of Independence read in the words it was written in, instead of having an interpretation of Wall Street.
Huey Long, known as the Kingfish, came to prominence in the 1920s. His down-home style contrasted sharply with a brilliant legal mind. He completed just 1 year of law school, yet by the age of 29, he had already argued 2 cases successfully before the United States Supreme Court. When he was 34, Long was elected governor of Louisiana. He was swept into office, thanks in part to his philosophy of redistributing American wealth.
No man must be allowed to have too much. No man must be allowed to have too little.
unless you limit the size of the big, it necessarily means that the small people must become more and more impoverished as time goes on.
At the age of 37, Huey Long was elected to the U.S. Senate. He was clearly a national figure, and there was serious talk of a run for president in 1936. The very thought of Huey Long in the White House prompted opposition groups in Louisiana to arm themselves, hoping to shatter Long's power base in his home state. The rich and powerful, Long was the devil incarnate, and many believed Huey Long was better dead than president. In fact, a few were convinced it was the only way to stop him.
I was elected railroad commissioner of Louisiana in 1918, and they tried to impeach me in 1920. When they failed to impeach me in 1920, they indicted me in 1921. And when I wiggled through that, I managed to become governor in 1928. And they impeached me in 1929.
Huey Long had a great compassion for a lot of people, but that compassion did not extend to people who crossed him. Once you crossed Huey Long, you had an enemy for life. People lost jobs, they lost businesses, they lost lands, they lost everything because of the vindictiveness of Huey Long.
Judge Henry Povey of St. Landry Parish was one of the many elected officials Long targeted for political destruction. By contrast, Povey's 29-year-old son-in-law, Dr. Carl Austin Weiss, was known to be apolitical. But it was Dr. Weiss, a respected Baton Rouge physician, whose name was to become inextricably linked to Huey Long. On September 8, 1935, the two men would meet for the first and only time. It was a meeting that would change history.
I don't understand why I gotta keep doing this, and I don't want to hear anybody blaming her anymore either.
4 days earlier, Huey Long had returned to Louisiana from Washington, D.C. for a special state legislative session. Despite the threats against his life, Senator Long strode boldly between the State House chamber and Governor Oscar Allen's office, where history records that Dr. Carl Austin Weiss lay in wait.
Oscar, they're gonna vote first thing in the morning, and this is the last time I'm gonna do your job for you. You understand me? He shot me. He shot me.
Dr. Carl Austin Weiss was killed instantly, shot more than 60 times by Long's bodyguards. His .32 caliber pistol was found beside him. Huey Long died 30 hours later. He was just 42 years old. Long's funeral drew 100,000 mourners, most of them working people. No one could believe that a force of nature like the senator had been forever silenced. Five days after Huey Long's funeral, an inquest seemed to establish Dr. Carl Austin Weiss as the assassin. Some speculated that his motive was to stop Huey Long from sabotaging the political career of Weiss's father, Judge Henry Povey. Weiss's own family, in a state of shock, had no choice but to accept the verdict. However, today, strong evidence has been amassed which indicates that Huey Long may have been killed accidentally and that Dr. Weiss may have been innocent.
Well, did you enjoy the church, sir?
On the day Huey Long was shot, the Weiss family gathered as usual for Sunday dinner at the home of Carl's father in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
And how was your father, the judge?
He's fine, too.
In 1933, Carl Weiss had married Henry Povey's daughter, Yvonne. At the special legislative session then in progress, Huey Long was trying to gerrymander Judge Povey's judicial district out of existence.
Man, it's taking people's jobs away, their livelihoods away, and it's coming right in your family. How can you not be upset?
Papa, you just don't understand. Long is cut from a different breed.
According to those present, it was Carl Weiss's father who was was raiding against Huey Long that day. Ironically, Dr. Weiss himself minimized Long's actions and tried to calm his father down.
Lovely morning at church. Got a delightful dinner here. Let's not let this destroy it.
You're right about that, son.
Before the day was over, Dr. Weiss would be dead and his name vilified. He left behind his wife and a son, Carl Austin Weiss Jr., who was granted Unsolved Mysteries a rare interview.
Naturally, most of what I know of my father is very secondhand, but understandably it's been one of my major life interests. Naturally, there's been a lot of interest focused on the minute-by-minute detail of my father's day, where he went, what he did, etc. He spent the afternoon at home, and then he left to visit the home of a man named Morgan, who was a patient of his, and I believe my father made a phone call from the Morgan home to make plans for the morning surgery. Thereafter, he left, and for reasons that I don't believe we'll ever know, he didn't go directly home, but stopped. And the rest is, as they say, history.
At the state capitol that evening, the career of Yvonne Weiss's father, Judge Henry Poppe, hung in the balance. House Bill number 1, the redistricting plan, was Huey Long's top priority.
How much longer am I have to wait for House Bill number 1 to pass?
Well, we just got started.
I am tired of Henry Poppe sitting on that judge's bench, and I thought y'all was gonna get him out tonight.
We just started working on this last night. We're getting resistance.
Y'all, you get resistance every bill you pass. That ain't no excuse no more.
We just got to take our time.
Time?
You're pushing too hard.
I built this building faster than you boys are passing this bill. Now, what's the deal here?
Huey, I don't think you understand. Look, we got a state constitution that tells us how to run things.
Tell you something about this state constitution. I am this state constitution. You understand me? Now, do you have the votes to pass this bill or not?
No, I don't.
Well, then get back down on the floor with your little constitution. Never mind, I'll go back out on the floor.
Fine.
You go right ahead. Don't you back talk me. I'll break you as fast as I made you.
At 9 p.m., the special session was still going strong. Huey Long trod his familiar territory, oblivious to the arrival of Dr. Weiss. Some people believe Carl Weiss went to the Capitol not to shoot Huey Long, but to plead his father-in-law's case.
Carl Weiss took his position outside of the governor's office. He was not hidden outside of the governor's office. He was in plain view because he was approached by other people who knew him, who saw him there, approached him, shook hands with him, talked with him.
3 times, Weiss would approach Huey Long that night, and 3 times he would be brushed aside.
On another pass, Weiss was a little bit more urgent, and he told Long that he really had to talk with him, and Long once again said he didn't have the time to talk to Weiss.
Senator Long, can I speak with you, please?
Ellender got Anderson to come over to our son.
Well, that's good, government.
Mr. Senator, can I just speak with you for a second?
I'm a little
please?
busy, son, but you just make yourself comfortable. You got just a few
Senator,
minutes.
Senator Long, Senator Long, this is very important. Mr. Senator.
History records the rest in some blue haze, really, but we're uncertain as to what happened, but that is how the scene was set for this particular moment.
You know
making a USB boot drive now. Well, it's coming along. We've done all the fields. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. The pain's making me out of breath.
So by the looks of it, that process is fine. Touch wood. Yeah, I'm having to create my own key. That thing is basically a key for the software of how to make one. That's all it is.
Not the actual key.
Well, yeah, it's on there, but it's not bootable. It's non-bootable. As if you want to upgrade from like Windows 7 or 8. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But to put on a new system, it won't do it. So I'll make my own. We have to buy a key or buy one. It costs about £2. So I've got the key for it anyway.
Hi, my dear sister. Mm.
Hi, Nicole. Oh, dear. hopefully this will work now. But you've seen what it looks like now. Yeah. Not too keyed up on that mirror, you know, for your main cooler.
Yeah.
I don't think it looks that good. I think I'll end up getting you a thermal right display screen. We'll see, you can check mine out first when I get it. No, it doesn't there. No, it doesn't. Oh, it might do. I don't know. I don't know. Nope. Ooh! Oh dear. Yeah, I've just got to sort that out and all your fan controls. I don't know what the hell's going on with it. Not the same. Like mine works until I get into the desktop.
Oh dear. Jesus Christ. And yes, that was him singing a Christmas song. Alright, I am going to call it in a bit. I haven't unlocked the ones that I needed, so yeah. I will be live later on, so thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you guys later on. Lots of love to you all. Take care now. Bye bye.